Hello viewers, as you know that today there is another diplomatic crisis after the post G20 conference in India, especially the relation between India and Canada. We are going to focus what are the causes, why these relations going to be down, what kind of the crisis, what kind of the question marks is there from the both side. If you look at the international relations, the first time after the 1947, after the independence, India facing some diplomatic crisis with the Canada. We know this is not good for any emerging economy or emerging leading power because you have to cooperate with all the major powers and emerging economy. So let's think what is the causes, why we are face up with this bilateral relations, diplomatic relations, what is the role of other countries, the major powers, especially UK, US, and other powers, how to going to sort out the crisis between the India and Canada. Let me first know where is Canada, what is the importance of Canada. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, he also attended G20 meetings, but there is some direct or indirect, some political crisis is there after the G20s, especially some of the issues we are facing in the terms of, we say, diplomatic crisis. If you look at Canada, Canada is the northern hemisphere countries in the North America. If you look at Canada's political systems, it is, we can say, the federal state after 1869. Being a federation, Canada is a representative democracy and the constitutional monarchy. Still today, Queen Elizabeth is the head of the state, but Prime Minister is Justin Trudeau. He is in power since 2015. There is upcoming elections, national elections in Canada in coming months. If you look at the political systems and the federal constitutional monarchy, it is running like Westminster democracy, like United Kingdom. But there is two parliamentary, two bodies, upper house and the lower house. Bicameral parliament, we say House of Commons and the Assembly of Parliament is there. In last 20 days, there is a hot debate about the India's Canada relations in Canadian Parliament. Leader oppositions and opposition also focused how to maintain. Recently today, few hours back, Canadian Prime Minister's spoken, we are trying to cementate the ties with India. Let's hope for the best. Look, whatever the regions. This is the picture during the G20 where Indian Prime Ministers met, interacted with the Canadian Prime Minister. Yes, these were the symbolizations during the G20 where the most of the leaders of the G20s have interactions with the Indian Prime Minister at Bharat Mandapam. They are discussing about many issues, political, economic and other things. It is the face who recognize whatever the relations, the level of relations between the India and the Canada. That's matter for today. If you look at the historical view, diplomatic views, political, economic views of what kind of the relations, why this crisis rises today, simply we say Canada and India have long-standing bilateral relations built upon the shared traditions of democracy, pluralism, and strong interpersonal connections. In second side of the story, we say Canada is the home of the largest community of Indian origins, that is the Punjabi community. It is approximately 4% of Canadian being of the Indian heritage. India-Canada share a strategic partnership underpinned by the shared value of democracy and pluralism. We expanded through the different economic engagement, regular high-level political and diplomatic relations, long-standing people-to-people ties, interactions between the two community Indians. Diaspora is there. They play the very significant role in their local politics as well as the national politics, especially the Punjabi community. We can say India and Canada, bound by shared idealisms and liberal international commitment to normative global orders. It is the remark by one of the expert of international relations, why India and Canada relations is important and what kind of idealisms and liberal internationalism commitment is there for the promotion of democracy and other things in the present normative global order. If you look at the political systems, political history, with the connection and link with the India, we say Canada is the home of 1.2 billion persons of Indian origins. It is the largest immigrant after the British and the French who settled down there. The first, then after the Asians moved to the Canada. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited 2015 after the winning the elections in 2014. It was historic because there is a lot of agreements signed between the two countries, the beginning of new levels of political history, diplomatic commitment to cooperate each other in the international political system. There is a deep cultural and political ties between the India and the Canada, strengthened by growing network of official dialogues, agreements, MOU, and many more things. But recently, we know what is the causes, what is the main bone of contentions, that is the tension spike after the Canadian Prime Minister say credible allegations against the Indian agents was involved in the Hardeep Singh Niger murder. That's why the bone of contention between the two countries today, especially the diplomatic relations. Sikh religion is one of the largest community as a diaspora from the Indian origins there. This is the statistics who showing what kind of the populations India, Canada's Indian populations, Canadian, English, Irish, Scottish, French, Germans, Chinese, Italian, Indian and Ukrainians. It is about the 4% Indian presence is there in the Canada today. This is the demography. We know Canada is very important player for Indo-Pacific strategy, like India is also crucial player for Indo-Pacific strategy of Americans' view of the new global order or whatever the containment of new confrontation with China and other things there, especially Indo-Pacific. Canada is a Pacific country. We have a strong bond of cultural exchange and cultural ties. Indigenous peoples in Canada, called by Pacific coastland and the shoreline forms of millennia, they have shared the indigenous trade networks, have historically extended to the indigenous people all around the Pacific. If you look at Canadian views, whatever we know the status of India. India is a very fast growing economy and leading economic power as well the political power in the new global order. So India's growing strategy, economic and demographic importance has a significant mark for the Indo-Pacific and the critical partner for the Canada pursuit of these objectives under the strategy. We can say Canadian thinks, that's why the 2 days in the mornings as a Indian time, Canadian Prime Minister's vocal about the stronger ties with the India because it's the strategic importance of India in the global orders, democracy, economic and demographic importance. If we look at the second part of discussions, the political and economic relations, that's matter for today's. India established diplomatic relations with the Canada since 1947. Bilateral relationships should value democracy, human rights, rule of law, and the pluralisms. Bilateral trade, especially in the economic context, we can say India and Canada amounted to about $6 billion annually. Indian investment in Canada was valued at about $4 billion today. Canada is 18th largest foreign investor in India with overall investment about $3,306 million from April 2000 to March 23. 600 Canadian companies have been present in India. 1,000 Canadian companies are also actively pursue the business in the Indian market. So market matters for the Canada, while along with the Indian diaspora cultural links there. Both countries engage in technical negotiations for comprehensive economic partnership, SEPA, including trade, goods, services, investment and the trade facilitations between the two countries. In 2022, India was Canada's 9th largest mercantile trading partner in the Indo-Pacific region, 13th largest mercantile trading partner globally, and the 14th largest destination for the mercantile export. We say for the Canada, India is the significant partner for economic links in Indo-Pacific under the new comprehensive strategy for this region. If you look at the SEPA, SEPA is important for enhancing cooperations between the India and the Canada, especially that is called Comprehensive Economic Partnership that reviews the bilateral relations $4.4 to $6.45 billion, GDP gains US 3.8 to the 5.9 billions. It is the round of figures. It is the projected figure almost by 2035. That is the patterns of the trade between the India and Canada. We hope that it will be more larger than whatever we are expecting today in the 2035. That matters. Canada is very close, a strategic partner of United States as well as United Kingdom. Look at this, the pictures establish the European links with the Canadians, especially 19th and 16th to 17th century. There, this is the recent pictures during the G20 where Canadian Prime Minister visited in New Delhi with the family at the Gandhi Ashram. If we go through the recent crisis, I already highlighted what is the issues, why they are the bone of contentions between the India and last week, India asked the Canadian government to reduce its diplomatic staff in the country. More than half of the tries, around 40 diplomatic staffs of the Justin Prime Ministers publicly aired suspicions that Indian agents were involved in killing of Sikh separatists in Canada. It is the Canadian views that there is a separatist leader. It is the Indian views there. But it is not good for the true democracy. The one person, Hardeep Singh Nijjo, was shot dead by unidentified gunmen outside the Sikh Gurdwara June 18 in one of the city of Canada, whatever the blame or allegations of Canadians to the Indian government and its officials, its agencies, India had designated him as a terrorist 3 years earlier. Yes, India, whatever we have the sources through the agencies, we pass information to the Canadian government to check out these persons. But unfortunately, he did killed. But allegations that matters, not good for a bilateral relations. So recent allegations, if you look at there, it is the Prime Minister of Canada openly air these things, the killing of Khalistani leader. But the government of India totally denied. Whatever the allegations made by the Canadians in publicly, Canadian, especially Canadian Prime Ministers, you say it is the intelligence sharing alliance of the Five Eyes. It is the group of the countries, especially Canada, Australia, UK, and the US. Canada claim that we already shared about the murder of these particular persons. What is the intelligence sources is there, that the intelligence sharing with the Five Eyes. It is called in the alliance of the Five Eyes, which believed to have provided the information that helped the Canada. American ambassador also recently remarks about ongoing crisis between India and Canada. It is not good for the United States, so try to cement the bilateral relations. So a lot of news in here about it there. Recently, US Ambassador David Cohen confirmed that there was a shared intelligence among the Five Eyes partners. United States accepted whatever the views of Canadians, but trying to maintain the distance of this crisis. It is the Five Eyes who accused India to possible involvement in the killing of Khalistani separatists, but there is no any direct evidence. Indian government denied there is sharing of any information and intelligence view is there. But there is some information, some news in here, some reporting in the New York Times, United States about the Canada's and the India's. Mr. Trudeau accused India of orchestrating the plot. Recently, Indian Foreign Minister met with the Canadian officials in US trying to resolve this bilateral crisis. We don't know the exact things because it's a diplomatic way. What kind of the sharing of information between the India's officials and the Canadian officials, along with the Five Eyes, that matters. Canada's stunning allegations of India directed plot to kill especially this person, which is not good for the two democracies. We are global partners against the terrorism. We are a strategic alliance with the United States under Indo-Pacifics, that's matter. So that's why the bone of contention, whatever the diplomatic crisis is there, that the particular persons, whatever the Canadian Prime Minister's blame or allegations to India, but India denied it, the killing of a separatist leader. In the particular perspective, you can say, for the democracy, it is not good to blame game theory is there. It is time for global cooperations, respect the sovereignty of each country. We can say there is a direct link with our market, Canada, US. If there is some impact on direct negative impact on India-Canada relations, surely it is also some impacts on India-US relations. If you look at the Canadian views, that's why the Canadians Prime Minister today trying to cement it, re-establish the diplomatic channels with India, normalization of the relations. So say India has a strategic importance and leadership both across the regions and globally. It's matter for Canada today. They cannot reject the India emergence, democracy, many more things is there. It is the time for opportunity to engage each other, especially in the time of crisis. Other officials of US, UK trying to cooperate from the both sides. They are not ready to openly say the one-sided. Yes, there is no sharing of intelligence about the informations, but they also trying to cooperate to the India as well as the Canada to rebuild the relations, what kind of the gray area is there. You have to cooperate in terms of politics, economics, other engagement. That's matter for today's, because the G20, whatever the commitment for the global engagement, the perspective, the South perspective, from the South perspectives, global South perspectives, that's matter for democracy, that's matter for economic and energy security, it's matter for economic and trade cooperations among the democracies, especially democratic countries, sustainable developments. But whatever the India stand is there, India rejected the allegations. Yes, it is a challenge for the Indian foreign policy and the foreign minister to how to rebuild the reties with the Canada. In the similar fashion, we can say Canadian must listen the Indian diplomats, Indian expert views. But whatever the allegations, it is not good for the allegations to blame to each other, especially the killing of one of the separatist leader. In the new global order, especially the post-pandemic, so we know for the US, Canada and India both are important for Indo-Pacific, as well as for the Canada, US and India is a specific important. India also, in the Indian perspective, Canada, UK and the US is important for the Indo-Pacific, Europeans also. So overall trying to build up to cementage the ties. Yes, there is some question mark. We should move beyond this sharing of informations, find out it was the whatever the situations, maybe it is the, but it is not good for any diplomatic cooperations if any prime ministers directly, openly allegations against any democratic leadership or country like the India. Thank you.